Season, the last time these guys were here, they couldn't really tell you much because nobody had seen it yet. But I'm assuming that if you're in this room, you have watched the season, correct? I'm also assuming if you're in this room, you loved the first season, correct? All right. Well, listen, I am going to bring out our group, and we're going to get right to some questions about season 1 and maybe some stuff about season 2. All right, first we've got executive producer Cameron Welsh. He is saying Cameron Cuff. This event's Morris Day. Kick-ass Jaina Zahn, Anna Gabomo. Our first live-action Adam Strange, Sean Sipos. And DC Comics, Dan Evans. Well, congratulations, guys.
Oh, thanks so much.
Fantastic first season. Oh, look at him. There you go. Oh my God. It's like when you go to medieval times.
It's good looking.
It's going to disappear soon.
All right, so last time, like I said, you guys really couldn't talk much about what these guys were going to see, but now that it's out there, how does it feel?
It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing to have it out there in the world. And the thing is, the first time we saw you guys, the first time we talked to you, we said that this is a show that it's not going to be what you expect. This is not the show you think you're going to see. And now you guys know. You know what we're doing. This is an Elseworld story. We're going for it. And so the fact that we get to talk about that kind of stuff, the fact that you guys know that is awesome.
Mr. Showrunner.
Yeah, look, I'm excited to hear what everybody else thinks about the show, to be honest. Like, yeah, as you say, last year nobody had seen it, and now that people have, I'm really interested to see what people think.
And this is a massive undertaking because everyone thought it was a Superman prequel, but very early on we found out that this was definitely not just like leading up to the events. This is grand scale storytelling. It's society, it's politics, it's family, it's science, it's religion, a lot of big stuff there. It was interesting, almost by episode 2, I forgot that we were dealing with anything with a cape.
Yeah, I'll take this off.
Yeah, I think we were aware that, you know, the Superman brand, if you like, it's such an iconic character, and we knew that people would come just for that alone, but we felt that what would, sustain the show and what would have people, coming back for more was the characters, and so that was, we made the characters the story engine for the show, and once the audience was able to invest in these new characters that they were introduced to, the idea of Superman or when will Superman appear on the show sort of faded away, and it became much more about the lives of these guys.
And you took some very big swings this season, some big swings. What was your goal for season 1 when you started mapping out that story, those stories?
Yeah, look, I think it's like Cam said, we wanted, this was not a prequel, and when we were saying all those things last year, it wasn't lip service. We meant it, and we felt like we were most successful when we did the unexpected, and I think that worked for us, and I think we'll try to do that again.
Your season finale, there may have been some misinterpretations of the final sequences. What was the final scene with Zod, the Zod statue on Earth? What was that meant to tell us?
It tells us that when the series began, Adam Strange came to Earth, from Earth to Krypton to try and save Superman's legacy, and we see with the statue of Zod that he failed. So effectively, Superman has been wiped from existence, and Krypton has been saved.
Krypton has been saved, but the world is now doomed.
Yeah.
Because we're screwed now.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
And Adam's there.
I want to be a hero.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen.
We have a ways to go.
Yeah. We've got a recap video to play that is going to bring us up to speed, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about what you set up. All right. So let's run that. Instagramming, Twittering, whatevering. I'm sure they've invented something since before the convention began. Just use hashtag Krypton and hashtag SDCC so we can find out what you're saying and what you're thinking and how much you love the show. All right, so that's 10 episodes. That's bananas. so much story got covered, so much ground, so much stuff set up. For you guys, one of my favorite things, and I saw a lot of this online as well, is these characters were not the characters we thought we were meeting in the pilot. They all turned out to be wildly different than what we first assumed. Nissa, especially, she's not really even that human.
Oh yeah, we've just started.
Yeah, and Jaina, probably over the course of the first season, probably changed the absolute most. Because when we first met her, she's stabbing her daughter in the hand. And then, she's all about integrity and nobility and title. And then she's running around with the hoods and the snow and fighting in the alleys. How was it for you guys to get these characters to move so much across the board in the first season?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, it's the writing, so it's there for us in order to do that. It's great writing, there are lots of twists, there are lots of turns, and I think we just went with that and made the most of it, really.
And Sean, Adam, like we said at WonderCon as well, like this was our first Adam Strange.
Yeah.
And I love that his kind of hero journey was parallel with Seg's.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to be a hero, and this was how he was making his bones. And this guy was like, whatever. Oh, I'm a hero.
Yeah, they're on a very similar journey. And they're very much a two peas in a pod, It was great to be able to start from a place of really kind of like a trying to create a false or a true lie, so to speak, and then to falling into a place of despair and going through what we all go through, which is like, can I be good enough? Can I be what I want to be? And that's
we sort of think of them as Butch and Sundance.
Yeah.
they are the Butch and Sundance.
It's that sort of dynamic, but there is sort of that element to it that they both are aware that they have to live up to something that's far bigger than them. The difference is that Adam desperately wanted to be a hero. He wanted to be a superhero, and Seg never saw himself as someone like that. So they're weirdly on the same journey, but they have completely different perspectives about where they are.
And now with this new Divergent timeline, you've created a universe where Superman is never born. That is, you have altered the mythology. You have introduced something to canon, or played around with canon, and we've got our DC Comics guy here.
Sorry, Dan.
What have you heard from Superman purists?
I mean, the great thing about the show is you watch it for about an episode or two, and then suddenly you stop caring about if Superman's going to show up because you just want more Zod. You realize you don't know anything about Zod. He's just been this petty dictator that bothers Superman, and now you're like, wait, this family's super interesting, and actually they have a really good point. Why should we blow up Krypton? So now we've really added to, the beauty of the DC universe is it's a multiverse. So this is just another aspect of the multiverse. It's not even changing continuity. We might just be watching Earth 72.
And I like that. Well, my favorite is how people, when it first started, they're like, well, we know it's going to blow up. So what are we going to wait 20 seasons for it and then we just die? And I was like, all right, if it runs 20 seasons, the series finale is it blows up.
When I get seasons like that, I'll keep watching.
Imagine in 20 seasons the effects we'll have. How do you guys work with DC Comics to kind of approve or get the okay to do these things?
Well, it's really Dan, and we have a great relationship, and I beg for things, and occasionally he.
Yeah. Have they come to you with anything where you're like, oh hell no?
Well, there was a Green Lantern issue that we maybe have to think about.
Oh, okay.
But, Camp's great because he really wants to explore all of this. So we're always looking at the interesting parts. And for the most part, we haven't explored the space characters of the DC universe. And Cam is just like, what about this? What about this story? And you're like, oh yeah, we haven't done that. Let's see what you do. And, I was just like all of you guys, episode 5, when Zod shows up, you're like, oh!
He's a Zod lover, I'm telling you.
I don't need Superman.
Weirdly, we don't need Superman on this show. And that was one of my favorite things also was Seg. He could have very easily been portrayed as the bitter, brooding young man who's all broken about his family being, falling from grace. But he came in so refreshingly new and optimistic. He's got the L optimism, but he just wasn't a d-bag, you know?
That's always refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, to see a character who's not a D-bag.
Because you know how you see the
That's what we
characters, you're like,
aspire to do on this
sure.
show. Have a lead who's not a D-bag.
Hashtag not a D-bag.
Yeah.
But the thing is, yeah, we feel that, as much as Superman isn't on the show, it's still all about that symbol. I mean, maybe not as sparkly, but it's still very glittery. But you should feel that. You should feel his presence. He's in a way that he's the most important off-screen character, and the choices that Seg makes and the way that he lives his life. He's aware that there's the legacy of everything that came before, this great legacy of revolutionaries and scientists and free thinkers, but there is a future where his ancestor becomes the greatest hero in the multiverse. There's a future where Superman and Supergirl exist. So for him, as much as where we're going, Superman sort of isn't in the picture. Seg's a member of the House of L, and he wants to believe that there is a way to save Krypton and make sure that Kal-El comes to be.
Yeah, and I think while we don't have Superman physically in the show, the spirit of Superman is what we've really just strive to capture, and I think, exactly what Cam says. I feel like that's what Seg is learning about. When Adam first shows up and says, we're gonna do this, we're gonna save Superman. The idea of that is such an abstract idea. Like in two generations, they've never even been off planet at this point in Krypton's mythology. So.
They don't even know what Earth is.
Right. Yeah.
This guy could just be bananas.
So exactly. So
That's what Seg thinks in the beginning.
Yeah, which makes that moment in, like halfway through the season where Seg has to kind of, he has that decision to make, allow Krypton to be destroyed in order for another planet and this, idea of a person that he doesn't know to be born. And, we're invested in that because we're from Earth,
right.
And we
Planet.
Superman. But for Seg, it's about letting everything he knows and everyone he knows die for that idea.
That was my favorite scene to film. Down there in episode 6 in the catacombs, it's myself, Adam Strange, Colin Salmon, and George, and the characters are just there debating about the future of the multiverse. As actors, the dialogue was insanely brilliant, but also as a fan, the ramifications of everything they say down there is monumental.
And I feel like that conversation has been had at so many Comic-Cons amongst just the fans and like the comic book dealers. Sean, one of my favorite points of the season was all of your stuff with Val. Like, the interactions between you two in the Fortress were hilarious because he still wasn't kind of getting that this guy wasn't real. Like, he kept treating him like a human.
Yeah, I mean, I really love their relationship. It's like, it's kind of like the Odd Couple, right?
Yeah.
They just take the piss out of each other consistently, but Val kind of has a sense of humor, but kind of doesn't. It's this really fascinating thing to play with. And then, of course, Syrian is he's amazing, so, yeah.
And for the ladies, this is something that we saw on trailers, we saw it in blurbs, we saw it online. It's very easy to have a show with strong female characters. But to have strong female characters who are not defined by the men in their lives, but actually redefine the men in their lives. Like the influence that Nissa has on Seg, and that Lyta has on Seg, the influence that Jaina has had on both her daughter and the people that were serving for her was dazzling. Because it wasn't like underlined, it wasn't bold, it was out there, and that these women were running it was literally like, who runs the world? Yeah. So for you guys, like, these characters, it's almost, like, we need Seg, obviously, and we need Adam and all this stuff, but, like, I feel like Krypton could be run pretty well by, Like, I have questions about Lyta. I feel like she's making some poor choices, but she'll learn.
She's young.
Shooting your own mother is questionable.
But she did stab her daughter.
Yeah. But it was shooting her own mother to save her son. So
yeah.
Oh, so that's okay, is it? I give birth.
Right. You know what? Something else I think a lot of people will will enjoy is that you never really fed into the ships of it all. You know, like you did this story couldn't be about romance this year because you had to save the planet from several threats, and that you let all these characters not be, you know, oh, she's the bad girl and she's stealing him, or he's cheating. You know, like it was that these characters were very, very complicated and nobody was the villain.
Right, and the story itself of the first season takes place over a pretty short period of time, so there's only so far you could go with those relationships. I mean, there were extreme circumstances, which I think, you know, that's a way to kind of, you know, greenhouse the relationships in a way, but it has to feel real and it has to feel natural, and I think, you know, that's the balancing act we have to try and, you know, get right.
I think the thing is as well is that we all sort of mutually despise the term love triangle because it completely discounts the experience these people are going through. These people are thrown into a crazy situation and they're forced to ally with people that they never expected they would. And also the reason why I don't like the term love triangle is that it leaves out Dev. Dev is a massive player in all of this.
Poor Dev.
Yeah.
I mean, he took a lot of heat this summer. I mean,
Give him a hand, folks.
Yeah.
That was a terrible joke, I'm sorry.
Do you, Wallace, do you think that Nissa and Lyta could be friends?
Yeah, I think if they're forced to.
If they're forced to.
Oh no, I haven't finished my sentence. I think you're forced into situations, and sometimes. Stop laughing.
Sorry.
And sometimes you have to just come together, don't you? Otherwise, we're both gonna lose. So, I think so.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about season 2 because you guys go into production
After the end of season 1, so we do a bit of a time jump. So the Krypton that we come back to in season 2, even in that short period of time, is actually vastly different than the one we left.
Well, considering that Zod basically should go over in a month.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm sure what he can get done in 5 months is pretty horrifying.
He's a man in a hurry.
Yeah.
And, you know, Zod has knowledge of the future, and he's able to apply that into, you know, what he's doing in the present day.
And so, but you positioned some of our characters here in not Krypton. So we'll have Seg still in the Phantom Zone?
Yeah, Seg will still be in the Phantom Zone when we pick up the season. You know, the Phantom Zone, it's such an iconic part of the mythology, and we felt we couldn't just, you know, yank him out straight away. You know, it's such an important part of the mythology, and we couldn't just undercut it.
And Adam will be?
Strange.
Oh, I'm here, actually, in our future, in our present, which is the future to them. And I am in Detroit. It's bottled, and I have to figure out how to save that.
Okay. Will we be meeting people from Adam's life?
We will. I think we got a taste of that in the first season. We heard, you know, Adam got Zeta beamed into a ship, and we heard some voices, and we'll peel back some layers there and get to see a little bit more.
All right, and
Could Adam maybe go suit shopping? Maybe.
Yeah.
Something in a nice slimming red.
at the super suit store.
Yeah,
we are.
Little jetpack.
Will
Jetpack.
Jaina be in the family business?
Well, I think, you know, as you said earlier, Jaina had such a, you know, there was so much change in Jaina in her arc. So where we find her, she's, I think, coming to terms with, you know, with her past and with her family and what, you know, the institution of House of Zod and what it stands for. And I think we explored a lot of that in season 1, and we'll go a little further into that. And I think Jaina will need to make a decision about is that what she wants the legacy of House Zod to be, and, you know, is she in a position to change it?
I'm dying here. What's gonna happen? Like, me and Cam need to have a chat about how things turn out, okay? Last thing we saw, my daughter shot me.
Yeah.
Her son has polluted her mind. I am coming back to get that guy.
Yeah, I
Oh, so she is in the family business. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not going to include Jaina Zod and grandson.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And Nissa, all that devastating news that she found at the end, which was played so beautifully, but like, what the hell? You saved that for like the last seconds? How does she bounce back from that?
Well, that's,
And are there like
she
Nissas?
does
Are there like
bounce.
Uh-huh.
Nissas everywhere?
no, there won't be. There's not going to be like multiple misses. Although that would be fun. Yeah.
I would have long ass filming days.
But yeah, I think Nissa found out that everything she thought she knew about who she was false, and so she'll try to. Part of her journey will be trying to reconcile that and sort of work out how important is that really? Like, are we as people defined by our past, or is it the actions that we take in the moment that better define who we are?
Nice.
I also think, sorry, just adding, that it could be quite dangerous. I mean, if you get told you have more than one life,
Oh.
you start to take
Oh,
risks. Am I right? So,
Nice. Like space bungee jumping, underground fight club stuff. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so what is your vision for the Phantom Zone? Like, what is your Krypton version of it?
I mean, the Phantom Zone in our mythology is a place that doesn't, the Phantom Zone doesn't obey the rules of time and space as we know it. So, it's going to be a freaky acid trip fever dream.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so last season you gave us our first live action Adam Strange. I know you have something to tell.
First live action Brainiac too.
Also first live action Brainiac, yes. So, and we're going to talk about him in a second. But you guys probably want to get your cameras ready because there's going to be an image coming up
This is gonna
that
be
will
really
only be
cool.
there for a couple seconds. So, do you want to tell us about who we might be seeing in season 2?
Yes. Well, we're introducing as you say, a character we haven't seen in live action before, but an iconic character in DC, comics, and we're very excited to bring this character to the screen. He's a bounty hunter. He's an alien, and look, I think
you might as well just show them.
and take a look at who we got.
Are you guys ready to see the main man in live action?
The main man.
Now, Logo's a pretty broad character.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you planning to kryptonize him?
Look, it's a good question. I think our show, has a fairly grounded tone, and Lobo is a very broad character. So we have to find a way to make, so those two things.
Yeah. Can you tell us how he's going to be connected?
He will encounter Seg at first.
We'll be hanging out.
Seg keeps running across these people.
Yeah.
Like, he does not keep good company.
Definitely not.
All right, so, and also, going back to Brainiac, we got so much Brainiac lead up, and then you give us this great visual of him, and then he gets sucked into the Phantom Zone. We will see more and more, and we'll find out more about this guy, right?
Yes, we will. We felt, Brainiac haunted our characters for most of the season, and then, there was this sense of, he's coming, and then he came, and I think he was terrifying, and, it looked like we had dealt with him, but, we all feel that Brainiac's such an important character for DC and for the fans, and we think there's a lot more story to tell with Brainiac, so we didn't want that to be the end. We don't look at the show as, this is our season 1 big bad. It's a serialized show, and Brainiac's still a part of it. And in season 2, we will go to Kaloo, which is Brainiac's homeworld, and we will explore more of his backstory and unpack a little bit more about who Brainiac is and what motivates him.
Any other planets that you're going to go to?
Planet Earth.
Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, and did you guys have to cut Nyssa's wardrobe budget? Because that shit was fire.
No, me and Lighter
Ridiculous. Did you have to cut their budget to get Doomsday?
cut the costumes.
Yeah.
We've already been in.
Yeah.
We've just like...
It's
There's gonna be
insane.
consequences to
It's like, I just love the idea of like Krypton having this amazing red carpet scene going on all the time, and Nyssa's just like walking through scenes.
Yeah.
Like, how are you guys handling Doomsday? Because you gotta get him right.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's one of the reasons why we sort of only really teased Doomsday in season 1. I mean, apart from the fact we had so much, story, and we didn't want to just cram it all in and shortchange any of the characters. So we will unleash Doomsday in this season, and we'll see him in his, at his most strong.
Nice, excellent.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to go to audience questions. I believe.
My question is, why are all of the people in Krypton British?
Because we're all from England. But not me.
Yeah.
And they're from another planet,
That's such
so
a brilliant question. And can I just say, your T-shirt is the best T-shirt.
Right.
Can I have that
Pretty
T-shirt? It's really hard to answer that question. I have no idea why the majority of us are British, but
well, we shoot in the UK.
I guess you're enjoying that fact, right?
Well, I think the thing is, if everybody had American accents, these people are not from Earth, so they wouldn't have an American accent either. The truth is, they probably wouldn't speak English. They speak Kryptonese, but the magic of television.
And that just happens to have a British accent, Kryptonese.
Mostly.
and also
Very similar.
We're actually all American.
All
Can
American.
you tell?
And also, kneel before Zod in a Midwestern accent just does not land.
And it also helps us make a point of difference with Adam, who is our kind of representative of Earth, so he sounds different to everybody on Krypton.
I got you, man.
Hi. First, I'd like to say thank you so much for having some badass women in this show, because they were amazing.
Women and no D-bags.
My question is Jana going to join Black Zero with the fight against Zod?
Jaina,
Jana.
is
sorry.
she going to join Black Zero?
Yes.
That
I
would-
know they've had some animosity.
Do you know what? That would be so interesting. At the moment, that's probably really against everything she stands for. But in season 2, who knows what choices characters will have to make? I guess it depends who else she can possibly join with. Maybe she'll decide to just go at it on her own, really. I mean, she's got no family left.
I will say.
I think, yeah.
I will
But
say.
just to, I guess, answer that fully in terms of what I would like as knowing the character so far, that for her I think would be a step too far, but we've seen her take major steps that she hasn't wanted to have taken in the past. But I personally think that's a step too far for Jaina. But I don't know what ideas Cam has about that.
An interesting thing that I'd say is that towards the end of this season 1, we saw this begrudging respect grow between Jaina and Seg. You know, that in a bizarre way, they started on opposite sides of the spectrum, but they have the same philosophy about life, about belief and the greater good. And in a bizarre way, from being the person who murdered his parents to being an ally, that was an incredible dynamic to play.
And can I just want to clarify something now while there's a live audience. She killed his parents out of love.
I felt the love in that moment.
It was a loving move.
Thank you. They had it was a mercy kill.
It was. And she did it for him. She secretly loves this guy. She's proud of her daughter secretly.
She's lying.
Loves me enough to kill my parents.
What do they say? Love is a verb?
Oh, right.
It's an action?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Thanks for that.
Hey guys, first off, I love the show. I'm new to comics. I just want to say that there are fans out there for whom you have a blank slate to write to, and I just don't want to get lost in the constant debate of Superman purists, and what's going on here. This question is for Anne.
I'm scared.
I want to say.
Me too.
No. I was thoroughly impressed with your character, particularly in the first half of the season. And I just want to know, what were the martial arts influences? I mean, you brought such a physical nature and intensity to the show. I just want to commend you for that. And I'm just wondering, what were the specific martial arts influences that you brought to your character?
Yeah, so there was Wing Chun, Wushu, Kung Fu. To be honest, there were all these names that our stunt coordinator would throw at me, and I'd just be like, okay, can we get practicing now? There were all different styles put together, and the idea was that we wanted to have moves that people who really knew about fighting would recognize. So when you see some of the holds, they are real holds that are really difficult to achieve. So the idea is that Jaina is fantastic. I mean, she is highly skilled in her fighting style. And it took a lot of training, like hours of practice, and me practicing in my room doing moves. So to answer your question, I would have to go to my notebook to find out what all the different styles are, but it's very much based in real fighting, the sort of moves that people would actually use, whether it's in MMA, etc. Does that help? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. All right, thank you. Keep it up.
We had a pretty incredible fight choreographer who I think he might have worked with on Wonder Woman as well.
Yeah, he was on Wonder Woman, and can I just want to point out that on Wonder Woman he told me I had a terrible kick, and and on Krypton he's like I was so wrong about you.
I have a Superman pop figure, and what about the movie?
What about the movie?
He means, will there be a Krypton
How
movie?
do you know about the movie?
Oh, a Krypton. Cam, will there be a Krypton movie?
Say again.
Will there be a Krypton movie?
Oh, will there be a Krypton movie? Sorry. That's an excellent idea. Yeah.
We love this job. I think we'd all love to do one. That'd be so cool.
And you should be my agent.
We're gonna send you to talk to some Syfy executives.
And Sean?
What's the saying? 6 seasons in a movie?
Right?
And also, Sean.
Let's get there.
Sean, I think we've found a good home for what you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Hey, do you want to come up here for a second? You want to come up? You don't have to ask him.
Great idea.
You're not going to see that at The Walking Dead. Go ahead.
Well, I think we all know who your new House of L member is, but beyond
100%.
I want to know who and how are you intending to plan or intend to tackle the problem of Doomsday? He's not normal within the realm of DC. He's something different. And I don't know if all the factions can come together and put aside all the things that have happened to alleviate Doomsday.
Yeah, in season 2 we'll, you know, because Doomsday, as we've seen, just the glimpses that we've seen is kind of this, you know, rage monster who punches holes through glass containers. But I think in season 2 we're gonna learn more about who he is, get the backstory, how Doomsday came about. We'll unpack a lot of that before we unleash him. And you know, he's an unkillable, you know, killing machine. So it's gonna take he's gonna take a lot of stopping, and he'll exact a heavy toll on the show.
Oh. Got it. Lobo kills Doomsday. Great.
Yeah. Wait, so he will have a heavy toll.
Yeah, in this season, you know, nobody's safe. Sorry, guys.
No.
Sorry, Wallace. I'm kidding. You know, if you have a character like Doomsday and you unleash him, there's going to have to be consequences.
And so will that mean that we'll learn more about the Science Guild? Because I feel like they're going to be the ones that need to figure out what that is.
Yeah, we'll get into the Science Guild. I think what we have planned for Doomsday and you know the havoc that he's going to wreak, I think will be very satisfying for whether you're familiar with the mythology or not. It'll be very satisfying.
Can I say, one of my favorite notes calls we've had recently, Cam got on the phone and said, I can't promise you everyone will get to the end. And you got to hear every exec suddenly go, you can kill this character, but you can't kill this one. I'll let you kill that one. Everybody was up for grabs. It was the most passionate call I've heard all year.
So everybody had their own character.
Everyone had their own favorite, and they were willing to fight each other about it. And Cam hadn't actually declared who was dying. It was great.
Who didn't have my back? Who was it?
Like I told you, they can kill you and then just make another one.
Yeah.
They'll say. You know there's a cabinet somewhere in Krypton where they're like, necessary.
Yeah, but 4 more lives.
But she's like a slob, that one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hey, love the show. Even though, you know, there's some continuity things in there, it doesn't bother me at all. You're taking a framework and having a good time with it. And as long as you're writing a good show and it's well written, so that's good. But my question is for Sean.
Yes, sir.
When you got cast on the show, when you actually started getting in there and finding out what it was, were you disappointed to find out that you weren't going to get to wear the classic Adam Strange spandex red and white costume with the shark fin on top?
It's only been 10 episodes.
Yeah.
You might see it yet.
I'll say this. Initially, I was extremely excited, and I think it was one of the first things that I said to Cam was, okay, I think every kid wants to fly. And teleport. This guy can do both of those. Do I get to... And he just went, we're just starting at the beginning here. We're very early on. He hasn't become that, which actually then made me very excited because I get to go on the journey with him, as opposed to just be him. It's sort of like, you want to be this hero? I'm like, hold on, I don't know who he is yet. And so, you know, you guys got to go along the journey with me as I went along the journey into becoming Adam Strange. And that journey still continues.
All right.
Thank you.
Will any other DC superheroes time travel to Krypton?
Good question. That is a good question.
Dan?
Yes.
Me? not saying they won't. I don't write the shit.
Who would you like to travel to Krypton?
Anna.
Alright, no pressure then.
Who would you guys like to see travel to Krypton?
Well, one of the cool things that we're gonna be playing with a little bit this season is the legend of Nightwing and Flamebird. So for you guys who know what that is, Nightwing obviously a big hero in DC continuity, so we're gonna sort of see the origins of that and play with it a bit more.
Nice. All right. Go ahead.
We have time for one more question.
Hi. Hi again. I met you guys earlier. I'm sure you guys get asked this a lot, but out of curiosity, in what ways do you feel like you relate to your characters?
Nice.
I was coming up first. I think I am quite a protective person over people that I care about, and would probably kick ass if I needed to save someone. So maybe that. What do you guys think?
Seg's stronger, braver, funnier, better looking, cooler clothes. But I think the one thing I do get is that I love Superman. Like a lot of you guys will know that I'm a big comic book fan. And I know what that symbol means. So for me, when Seg's dreaming of the idea that one day that symbol could mean hope throughout the multiverse, that's a dream we kind of share.
I'm a huge nerd.
You're in good company.
I don't think there are many things that Jaina and myself have in common, but one thing is idealism. And what I love about Jaina is how that gets challenged, and I think that's quite important in life actually, because if you have ideals all the time and you stick to it and you can't be flexible, things can go horribly wrong. So I like the fact that her challenges also encourage me to ask questions that make me open-minded in certain areas. So we share idealism but are open to change.
To break, to crack.
One thing's for sure, if you're working with Raz, it's going to be that person.
Yeah.
The guy who plays Cam, Raz Mazardica. If you're in a scene with him, then you are just going to break.
Yeah. I would say maybe Georgina, but she's
That's
not here
true
to
as
defend
well.
herself, so I don't feel right doing that.
Excellent. Well, listen, I want to thank you guys first for being here and thank this incredible cast so much. The team in Krypton.